2, 3, 4.
Of Arroz y Frijoles Music, arrozfrijolesmusic.blogspot.com, and I'm here with someone who a lot of people think is one of the best singer-songwriters working today, Miss Jenny Lewis, who just enthralled the crowd here at the COS Theater, of all places, in Visalia, California, on a June night in 2012, and we've just got a few questions for her. Just a music-y question to get out of the way. What are your 3 favorite Dylan tracks at the moment? I'll tell you mine once you tell me yours.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Right?
It's so tough, and it always changes.
Which is why I asked for 3.
Tangled Up in Blue. Well, I love Blood on the Tracks. Oh, this is so tough. Okay. Wait, can we come back to this so I can seriously consider it?
Sure. Do you want to hear mine?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Right now, at the moment, it's the version of Baby Let Me Follow You Down from the Biograph box set.
So epic.
Isn't it?
So good.
Actually, I'm going to pick an 80s one as well because I think that period is really underrated. Every Grain of Sand, which was from the Shot of Love album.
Great.
Yeah, it's a song everybody can come back to every once in a while and just glean something new out of it. And Things Have Changed from the Wonder Boy soundtrack.
Oh.
Yeah, just because that's like one of the best songs he put out in the last decade and a half, in my book, and just because I love that movie and I have an emotional attachment to it. Has that?
Okay, I'm going to take your lead on that and
Please.
choose an 80s song, Heart of Mine, which is a great one, Tangled Up in Blue, and Who Killed Davy Moore? Who Killed Davy Moore?
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who has a vinyl bootleg from the 60s of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm madly envious of him because he has that song.
I love boxing. I'm a huge boxing fan, so that song really speaks to me. Woo!
Boxing. Anyway, like, here we are, the I Heart Cali Tour 2012. You were here in Visalia, which isn't a place that a lot of really established musicians come to, but it's garnered enough. There's a lot of love in this town, and there's a lot of like serious music fans, and I wanted to know, like, what did you think about it? Did you have a blast?
I loved it. It was great. And to be honest, I decided to come here because of my friend Nick Freitas, who's from Visalia. And when I found out, well, when I asked him to open up the shows, I was like, we're going to go to Visalia because Nick is from there. And so when we got to town, he gave us the tour according to Nick Freitas, which was basically just like spots that he skated, like back in the 90s.
Awesome.
Yeah, we used to grind those rails over there. Like, we used to, like, skate on those, like, blue benches over there. And so we got, like, the skater-friendly Thrasher tour of Visalia. It was tight.
That's awesome. I'd like to tell you a story about how I came to know you and your music. In high school, specifically, like, late sophomore, early junior year, I was a big Bright Eyes fan. And I remember coming up on a compilation called Saddle Creek 50. That had Rilo Kiley on it, and I remember hearing the song With Arms Outstretched for the first time, and it just being like caught off guard by like, who is this beautiful voice and these beautiful words emanating out of my cheap boombox? And eventually I like ventured forth through your catalog to the extent that More Adventurous was like a time and place for me, as I'm sure it has been for a lot of people. And With Arms Outstretched has always been my favorite song, and I wanted to know, like, out of all the songs you've written, and you had a great set list tonight, what songs specifically stick out for you? Which ones do you have a really powerful connection to? I'm sure all of them, but which ones stick out?
It really depends on when you ask. You know, when you make a record, I think you kind of tour the shit out of it, and so you become kind of tired of the songs on that set list, and then a couple of years later, you kind of go back and revisit those songs and they become really special, or they don't make the cut. But With Arms Outstretched was always a really special song for me because we wrote that one in the van. We were touring our first record, and we had just hooked up with all of these dudes from Omaha, and they kind of took us through Omaha, introduced us to Connor and Mike Mogus, And I just remember feeling like it was like a creative rebirth for us. And we were in the van, and we literally wrote that, you know, driving through Pennsylvania. That one, and I think like of my songs, maybe Acid Tongue. It's just like such a specific, it's just like a page out of my life. And every time I sing it, I feel really connected to it.
We're here with Nick Frijoles and Jonathan Rice and the Watson twins. You had a lot of old hands, and I wanted to ask, like, obviously that's an element live, but when you're writing, with your creative process, would you say that collaboration is a key element?
Not when I'm writing.
How so?
When I'm writing, it's truly just...
For yourself?
Yeah, I'm just writing to make myself happy, and I'm writing the words and connecting them to a melody, or vice versa. But then we always tend to preview our songs with our good friends. Like, we have these song circles. So when Connor comes into town, my friend Morgan Nagler, she's my best friend, great songwriter, Jonathan, Nick, we all sit around and we play songs for each other. And that's when you kind of discover what you want on the song. And if it's a good song or not. Like, if it's shit, people are like, you know, they don't give it like a great reaction. But you know if it's dope. So I think you write something and then you bring it to the studio, and it changes. And it's this ever morphing thing. The studio, and then you take it on the road and you allow it to change there a little bit. You know, and then you kind of get into this pattern on the road, and then you listen back to the recording if you like forget the words or something. You're like, oh wow, I forgot I did that on that song. So it's this ever-changing thing.
I remember seeing you at Coachella 2009, and I remember you like looking like appropriately regal on that stage, and like you've seen and you've done and you've toured a lot of cool places. You've gone from like playing these small clubs in the LA area to playing Coachella 2009 to like seeing Bill Murray in your audience, which is like awesome and crazy. And to that end, I want to ask, like, do you have a favorite on-stage memory that like speaks to you above all others?
Well, it's funny that you bring up Bill Murray, who I adore. I mean, like everyone else, just such a huge fan. So we were playing, it was during the Acid Tongue tour, and Jonathan and I were playing a cover called Love Hurts. And it was at Austin City Limits in Austin, Texas. This like big festival, and we're in this tent. And we're playing Love Hurts, and I look over, and right by the side of the stage, in tears, is Bill Murray.
Wow.
While we're playing. And so, after the show, Jonathan was like, you gotta go up to Bill and say hello and give him one of your records. I was so shy. But I got up the courage, and I did. And I was like, hey, Bill, thanks so much for watching the show. I want to give you one of my records. And we became friends at that moment. And he hung out with us. I took him on the Bright Eyes bus. And we were watching the debates at that time. And he was on the bus, and I like rolled on with Bill Murray, and everyone was like, oh shit, it's Bill Murray. And he kind of just became a part of our extended crew.
Wow. That's awesome. Bill Murray is like, wow. There's like so much awesome in that sentence that you and Bill Murray just kick it. Like,
hang out.
Yeah.
He's a social genius.
He's also the man who knew too little.
Yes.
Yes, which is one of the greatest movies ever made.
Yeah.
I'm still tripping out that I'm talking to you because, as I said, Rilo Kiley and More Adventurous especially was a really big, it was a time in my life, you know what I mean, when I was like finding out about indie rock and all this cool stuff. And like, I wanted to ask, like, at this point, would you say that that's a time and place that's in the past, or could you ever see yourself like revisiting it again?
You mean Rilo Kiley?
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. You know, I always feel like relationships are changing, and you know, the Watson twins joined me on this tour. I haven't, you know, played a show with them since 2006. So I think the world is full of possibilities, and I'm still very close with my former bandmates, and you know, I hope we'll like bust it out at some point.
That's awesome. All right,
love those dudes.
Yeah, I have hope for the future now. And thank you so much for talking to us.
Thanks.
Like, we really appreciate it.
I do, too.
Arroz y Frijoles music.blogspot.com.
Is that rice and beans?
Yes, it is. Because we're Mexicans and we rep the Valley.
Great.
Yeah. And I'm here with Jenny Lewis.
I rep the Valley, too, in my own way.
Tell us how, please.
Well, my father lived in Fresno for many years.
Yeah, you were saying that on stage.
Yeah, and he was a harmonica teacher in Fresno, and so a bunch of his harmonica students came out tonight and played with us.
Mm-hmm.
It was really nice.
Yeah, it was a highlight of the set.
So I have the Valley in my heart.
That's awesome. And the Valley has Jenny Lewis in its heart.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm here with Jenny Lewis, Alberto Santillan of Arroz y Frijoles Music. Arroz y Frijoles music.blogspot.com, and I'm signing off. We'll see you soon.
Later.